Before I start this video, I just want to note that this episode will contain spoilers for A Quiet Night In, La Couchette, and the Trial of Elizabeth Gadge. Inside Number 9 is a British anthology series that ranges anywhere from dark comedy to genuine horror. Each episode is a self-contained story, linked with the others solely by a hidden hair statue and, more notably, by the number 9 that shows up in the episode in some way, shape, or form, often being the address at which the story will take place. Some episodes are more comedic, like A Quiet Night In, while others are much darker, such as The Harrowing. But they all have a similar base formula. Creators Reece Shearsmith and Steve Pemberton star in every episode, sometimes as smaller characters, or even as the leads. The episodes will follow one or several characters as they navigate through a somewhat comedic experience, only to reveal a twist at the end that drastically changes what we thought we knew. It's a brilliant and reliable formula that's great for anyone to jump in on. The show can be watched in any order and still be just as enjoyable as if you were watching based off of air dates. This formula adds a level of suspense to each episode, as you always know something's about to go terribly wrong. Since each episode is self-contained, they can add gimmicks to them as they please, and get rid of them long before they wear out their welcome. Truly it is a series whose potential can only be stifled by budget and time restraints. However, the gimmicks can be either a blessing or a curse. In A Quiet Night In, there is next to no spoken dialogue, with only hand gestures, occasional writing, and mouthing of words being used to communicate. Anytime the characters are about to actually speak, it'll cut away just before they can. And while the episode has some fun slapstick and a solid twist, the not talking becomes distracting when there are multiple times any other show would just let the characters talk. I understand it's for comedy's sake, and I'm aware that it could simply just be that this particular brand of British humor is lost on a US man such as myself, but it's a genuine annoyance and takes a bit out of the experience, as it feels really unnatural at certain times. However, like I said, it has solid slapstick and a fun twist. I really feel that does elevate the episode above its flaws. However, sometimes the formula itself can be the problem. Perhaps the best example of this is the trial of Elizabeth Gadge. In it, two witch hunters, Mr. Ward and Mr. Clark, are summoned to a village to ascertain whether or not Elizabeth Gadge is truly a witch. She stands accused by her daughter and son-in-law, who in truth just want the attic room she lives in. Warren is convinced that she is a witch and subjects her to all kinds of torture that supposedly proves her devilry. However, Clark is skeptical and notes that all the evidence shown proves nothing, and the witnesses against her have proven to be biased, and the judge who summoned them and is presiding over the trial loves all the attention it's bringing to town. Clark later expresses these concerns to his partner that they may be condemning an innocent to death, but Warren warns him not to question their work, lest he be accused of witchcraft, which has already proved a seeming death sentence for Elizabeth. The next day she is convicted of witchcraft thanks to Warren's manipulations and is sentenced to be burned at the stake. We cut to just before the execution, and her daughter apologizes to her mother for the accusation, but her husband, who is clearly pressuring the woman, is unsympathetic. Clark then comes in and dismisses the pair so that he can give last rites to Elizabeth. After they leave, it is revealed that he has switched Elizabeth for Warren, as he believes his partner has been tainted with evil and decides to rid the world of his sin. Shortly after that, they come to carry off Warren to be burned. The real Elizabeth comes out to thank him, and when she asks what reward he might want for saving her, he simply says that her continued life will do quite nicely. Now, what do you think the twist was in this episode? Before we go any further, what do you think it was? There's a twist every episode. What's this one's? Is it the daughter is truly a witch and accused her mother instead to save herself? Was Clark a witch in hiding, slaying his brothers and sisters in order to prolong his life? Will the judge now start false accusations so he can drum up interest in his town? Or was the switcheroo Clark pulled in fact our twist? Nope. Well, maybe it's something we haven't considered yet. Surely it's not the painfully obvious twist that Elizabeth was a witch all along. Tell you what, I'll give you a hint. Are you ready? Ready? Listen close. She was a witch. You see it coming from a mile away, and at no point in the episode was I swayed from this view. It's uninteresting and predictable. There's no explanation as to why she, as a witch, couldn't escape, but also couldn't be proven as one. Yes, sometimes kangaroo courts come to correct conclusions, but since the twist was so ridiculously obvious, rather than adding a constant sense of dread, it just feels like we're all just waiting for them to admit that this lame twist is all it's got. But, if you want to see an episode where this formula truly shines, look no further than La Couchette. It follows a doctor on his way to a potentially life-changing interview. He's trying to get some sleep, in spite of an increasingly noisy and crowded couchette. First a drunk and gassy German causes issue, then a married couple, and lastly a pair of backpackers. The married couple realizes the German has taken one of their beds by mistake, and with the doctor's begrudging help, resolve the issue. The backpackers try to explore each other a bit, but the final man in the car leans over. However, it's not to watch. His corpse has simply begun to fall off his deathbed. The doctor then gets up and assesses the situation, and he confirms the death. He then goes to try and find a guard, however, he fails. And at first they think, oh, we'll stop the train, get attention, get help for this. We'll stop the train, initiate the emergency stop, and we'll get help. But if the train stops, it'll be for too long. The doctor will miss his appointment. The married couple will quite possibly miss their daughter's wedding, and one of the backpackers, who is quite ticketless, will either be the prime suspect or still in quite a bit of legal trouble he simply cannot afford. So the doctor suggests that they put him back in bed and leave him to be found after they've all left. The rest agree, though some do so begrudgingly. And come the morning, in spite of a few more hijinks here and there, they arrive at their destination and go their separate ways. The doctor is the last to leave, and he bids farewell to the body, telling the supposed Dr. Mayer that there could only ever be one candidate for the interview. However, the now sober German enters, only catches pieces of what was said, and introduces himself properly to the doctor as his actual rival interviewee. He then leaves as the other doctor stares at the corpse in silence, realizing he'd killed the wrong man. In fact, he has no idea who he just killed. I saw coming that he'd be the murderer, but not that he'd slain the wrong man. It's an excellent twist that expertly balances horror and comedy. This episode has enough atmosphere, humor, and clever hints towards the real twist that even though I've told you how it ends, I'd still wholeheartedly recommend it to anyone in the mood for some dark comedy. At its best, Inside Number 9 is a formulaic series that knows full well how to take best advantage of said formula. At its worst, it's held back by gimmicks and predictability. However, the good more than outweighs the bad. It's perfect for casual Halloween viewing or a quiet night in. There's so much more to this series than what I've said here, but I want you to be able to experience that for yourself. So, to get you started, here are some personal recommendations. Sardines, The Understudy, Cold Comfort, and Seance Time. With all that being said, thank you very much for listening. If you enjoyed, please like, comment, subscribe if you can, or whatever equivalent you've got on whatever platform you're listening to this on. And this is GW, wishing you good night, good day, and good friggin' bye.